Hey everybody, Star 6 Wars 1 here, and welcome to the next anime review and the first of the straw poll reviews. For this one, we are taking a look at the very popular anime, Death Note. Now, I will be very honest here and say flat out, this series is very popular. I know that's like the duh Captain Obvious. Not what I'm saying. The series is well critically acclaimed and is constantly compared with the review I'll probably be doing next, Death Code Geass. Now, for the purposes of this review, there will be no comparisons to either Code Geass or between Death Note or Code Geass, because I'm going to save that for another time. We'll get to that eventually, but for now, let's just go with Death Note. First up, the story. The story begins, well, obviously, with Light Yagami finding the Death Note once it's dropped by the Shimigami Ryuk in the middle of nowhere so that he can become damn Kira. By the way, I'm going to note this right now. And I know this isn't the character section. I hate Light Yagami. I'll get more into that when I get into characters, though. And then a character named L, tries to catch him with the Japanese police, and they form this Kira hunting team, and shit goes on from there. Because, I'll be honest, the story is very intriguing for the first 25 episodes. I'm not even going to lie when I say this, the second half really is far weaker than its first half. After a certain spoiler happens, I will be very honest that the second half is not as good. The characters are not as interesting, and I feel like the story just falls apart. Slowly but surely. However, I do have to say, though, that the last episode is another thing entirely, and I'm going to need an entirely different video just to discuss that last episode. Look out for that in the future, by the way. Next up, the characters. Okay. This is where I think this review is going to become controversial. I have very mixed feelings about the characters. As I said beforehand, I hate Light. I don't just hate him a little, I hate him a lot. I hate him to my core. There's very few other characters I truly hate more than I do Light Yagami. Even in the goddamn show. Honestly, and for my hatred of him becomes worse and worse as the show goes on, until there's a boiling point where he almost made my most hated anime characters list. And I can't decide if he or another character I'm about to mention is on my most hated anime characters list. But we'll get to that person in a moment. Next up is L. L is by far my favorite character in the show. I find him very intriguing, very fascinating, and overall a great match to Kira or Light. Honestly, L really made the story really interesting. He and Light's battle honestly made the show perfect. It made it amazing to watch and a definite highlight. No complaints on L. Where I can complain, however, is Misa. She is the character I mentioned when I was mentioning Light. Misa is by far one of the most annoying characters in all of anime. I don't think I'm exaggerating when I say that. She is annoying, she is a bitch, and basically, she won't shut the hell up. My god, this character was infuriating. Especially towards the final episodes, where I feel like the writing for her just got worse and worse. She is one of the main problems I have with the second half, because guess what? She was kind of competent in the first half, but in the second half she feels like a useless person, and my god, I don't want to talk about her anymore, because she is the most frustrating thing about this. Now, I could go on and on about the characters, because honestly, my opinions on them are rather mixed, or hit and miss depending on your tastes. But I will say that the second half really hurts the characters. Very few remain consistently good. And even then, I'm really stretching to say that I think the characters are actually the weakest point of Death Note. And I know I'm probably going to get some hate for saying that, but I think it's true. I think the characters are the weakest point, and I think you're supposed to at least root or care for them. And to be honest, excluding L and his team, I really don't. Seriously, this is a cast that I can't get over. It's like, and that's not even getting into some of the other context in the show that I really don't want to talk about. Because that's going to cause some controversial stuff that really I don't need to talk about. If you want to go find out more, look up "Is Death Note Sexist" on Google and have fun with that. I'm not getting into that train any more than I already have. Moving on. I will say this. I'll give Death Note this. Animation is actually fairly good. I don't think it's perfect, mind you, but what show isn't? The animation, though, is definitely an improvement over some, and doesn't really need all that much animation. Some of it is just standing still and all those little things, but honestly, I think when the animation is at its best, it's really, really good. And when it needs to be calm, it's calm. That's all I need to say with the animation. Next up becomes probably my favorite part of Death Note, the music. Oh my god, the music. Honestly, the soundtrack for the is probably one of the best soundtracks I've heard in anime, period. I don't think it's the 100% best, but I definitely think it's great. With notable tracks being Kira's theme, L's theme, Nier's theme, Mellow's theme, and so many others. And that's not even talking about the openings and endings. All four of which, both 2 endings and 2 openings, I think are actually fairly decent. The weakest one being the first ending theme. Everything else I really liked. And this is coming from a guy who normally finds one ending theme or opening theme he doesn't like. And I liked all 4. And that's awesome. As for the dub, I will say right now, I actually really like the dub. Brad Swaley definitely is the notable performance of the dub. But another mention does have to go to L's voice actor, whose name at this very moment escapes me, but I will be very honest here, he is L. He makes the character, for me, all the more enjoyable. Which maybe would have had less in the Japanese dub. I don't know, as I've actually not heard it in Japanese, except for, well, the Kira laugh. If you don't know what that is, again, look it up at your leisure. Or watch the first Villains Tournament video where I actually do feature the English version of Kira's laugh. Have fun! Overall, I really enjoyed it, but something always has been bugging me ever since the first time I watched Death Note. Something has always been bugging me with it. I don't know what it is. I don't know if I'll ever know what it is. But something just bugs me about Death Note. And it always has. And honestly, I can definitely say without a shadow of a doubt, I've got a better picture of what bugs me. The characters and the story. I know people are going to be like, what do you mean? The story is amazing! Did people forget the second half, which is pretty much the R2 of Death Note? Only Code Geass comparison, I swear. Honestly, the story almost completely falls apart by the second half. And I'm nice, and I'm probably nicer to the second half than most people. And that's saying something, because I'm not even that fond of the second half. It's not as good as the first. And that's the problem. The story could have been a full-on masterpiece, but unfortunately, the second half almost completely ruins it. And then the ending is a whole nother topic to talk about, as I mentioned earlier. And soon after this video, I will be releasing a discussion on that. So look forward to that soon too. Honestly though, Death Note is a really good series. But I still think it's a little overrated. I don't hate this series, not at all. I really like it, and I think the ideas in it are fascinating as all heck. But unfortunately, I do have my problems with it, and sad to say, it does hamper my enjoyment of the show a little, which is too bad. I give Death Note an 8 out of 10. Honestly, I think it's a really great series, but ultimately for me, the characters hamper my enjoyment of it, as well as the story. And there are several little things in it that I personally am bugged by, and I don't think I'll ever get over, preventing it from ever calling it a true-on masterpiece. Anyways, that's all from me. This has been Star 6 Wars 1, and I'll see you guys next time.